It's good to be back. It is a Tuesday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I am Glenn Clark. Thanks to Gary Stein and Stan the Fan Charles for holding down the fort yesterday while I was working my way back from the Midwest. Griffin is here with me. Got a lot to do on a Tuesday edition of the program. Obviously, the Ravens win last night. They improved to 6-3. Thanks to those of you who joined us for Project Game Day at halftime and the Baltimore Game Day Uncensored postgame show over on the Fan. Postgame. Had a lovely evening, obviously, as the Ravens were not particularly threatened in a 27-13 win in New Orleans, now 6-3 on the year. Qadry Ismail will join us in just a bit. We will discuss that. We'll get into pats on the ass a little bit later on in the program. In a Tuesday edition, people struggle when we do these on different days. It's just the day after the game. It's not hard. I guess it will be awkward if the Ravens were to play on a Friday or a Saturday at some point, because then we'd be doing it a couple of days later. But I think right now it shouldn't be difficult. If they played yesterday, then we do it today. I think you guys can do it. I believe in you. Get me yours at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter. Again, 2 offensive players, 2 defensive players, special teams player. The 5th can be a special teams player, a coach, or another offensive or defensive player. Whoever you'd like. Rank them 5-1, with number 1 being your man of the match. At Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter. We'll share them during the course of the show. It is Tuesday, so we will preview Waiver Wire Wednesday. Our guy Joe Serpico will join us, PressBox fantasy football analyst. Also, Tuesdays throughout college basketball season, our pal Patrick Stevens will be checking in with us. College basketball season got underway last night. I cannot lie, I did not get to watch any of it. Ravens were playing. It's what it was. So Patrick will tell me what happened. That's the way.
I was working the Towson game. I'll be one of their replay techs.
Oh, look at you!
So I was boots on the ground at CQ Arena.
Does Dixie know?
No, she doesn't.
Dixie doesn't.
No,
we haven't let Dixie Alvarez.
That's close. That's close enough, I think.
Have we let her know yet?
No, we haven't.
Mike is in today, though, right?
Yeah.
So
at least it usually is.
We can make a video maybe letting her know.
Great.
Imagine the resume you're putting together for old Dixie Alvarez. We'll talk to Patrick Stevens about the start of college basketball season, what's coming up this week. We will do that every Tuesday throughout the season. So that's what's going on here on Glenn Clark Radio. Online sports betting will be starting in Maryland in the next few weeks, and PressBox is your source for the best offers and sign-up incentives. Starting now, you can get a $100 pre-registration credit from our friends at FanDuel by going to PressBoxOnline.com/offers. The $100 credit is in addition to the new user promo that you'll get when they go live. Just go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers right now to get your $100 FanDuel pre-registration bonus credit. That's PressBoxOnline.com/offers. So it's the weird feeling that I have where there's almost nothing to complain about last night. Of course, you would say that you'd like them to clean a few things up. There were still a few moments where Lamar was a little skittish for as well as he played. I think we all saw the same things. There were plays that were there to be made that weren't made. There were times where there were passes that were errant for no apparent reason. There were times there were passes that were errant that you believe were probably because he either hasn't had enough time, or time might not be the right word. He hasn't had enough of a connection with a particular player that he was throwing the ball to. There's a number of those instances. The issues with getting the play in and getting the ball snapped, still infuriating, maddening. There's no way around it. The situation in the fourth quarter where they went from 2nd and 5 from the 14 to 3rd and 14. 3rd and 14. 2nd and 5 from the 14 to 3rd and 14 from the 23. In a spot where they had the opportunity to make it a 3-score game and slam the door on the Saints. And I get it. It doesn't matter because they ultimately were never threatened. Saints, as soon as they got the ball back, decided to give it right back to the Ravens. All was good. I understand that it didn't ultimately matter. But it's still frustrating because you can see a scenario in a game where maybe you're not playing the Saints, where that becomes more problematic. And you could definitely see the frustration on Lamar, not just on the field after the false start where he slammed the football into the ground, but he continued the demonstrative display onto the sideline. There's been some video that's been floating around about that. And again, I have no problem with it. He should be frustrated. But those were nitpicking, right? We're nitpicking because on the whole, it was just about everything that you'd want in a Ravens football game. I mean, given who they are at this point. Sure, you'd like them to have an explosive, 40-point-a-game offense, but is that what best suits them, given their personnel for trying to win a Super Bowl? This is the idea that I keep coming back to when people talk about, but there's a limit to what you can do with the Greg Roman offense. I don't know. Is there? I mean, winning seems like a pretty good limit to have. I like winning. That's a lot of fun to me. And I get it. They've lost the games they played against the best teams on their schedule so far, Miami and Buffalo. I don't know where the Giants line up amongst some of the other teams they played this season. Like, I don't know if the Giants are better than the Bengals. I don't know if the Giants are better than I have no idea what to make of the Jets. And again, when the Ravens played them, they weren't this, so I don't know how to compare that. So I get it. It's frustrating in that way, and maybe you'd rather watch the Ravens score 40 points a game, but I don't know that that's what they're best suited to do given the roster that they have. I think last night was far more of what they're best suited to do. Play to your strengths, put together long drives, keep your defense rested, and then dominant. I think that last night was exactly what the Ravens are best suited to do for the rest of the season and even into the postseason when they might again play those best teams in the AFC. I said this last night on postgame. I feel like in the back of our minds, and I remember how this felt specifically with Kansas City a couple years ago. I think we're getting back to where it's Kansas City and Buffalo. It feels like every time the Ravens do anything, there's a bit of a, that was good, but do we believe that they can beat the Bills and the Chiefs? We talked about it a lot, specifically with Kansas City, and then the Ravens beat Kansas City a year ago. And ultimately it didn't matter much because the entire roster got hurt and things fell apart, so we have no idea if they would have been able to turn around and beat the top teams in the AFC in the postseason because they didn't have their team together. But that's the thing that's in the back of our minds. The Ravens are putting together a nice stretch of football. The last 6 quarters have been the most consistent stretch of football on both sides of the ball that we've seen from the Ravens all season long. That's a good trend. At any point in the season, you'd like it to be that your best football was played in the last 6 quarters that you played. I mean, it would be okay if it was the last 16 quarters as well. Don't get me wrong. I'd like to extend that. But you'd rather it not be that when someone says, hey, when was the best stretch of 6 quarters of football that the team has played, that you say, that was 2 months ago. That's not a good sign. You'd far rather it be the most recent stretch of 6 quarters. And the Ravens, unquestionably, from a complete team perspective, not just when did their offense play the best or when did their defense play the best, when did the Ravens as a team play their best 6 quarters of football? Without a doubt, it's the last 6 quarters of football that we've seen them play. Second half of the Buccaneers game, the 4 quarters last night. Without question, the most complete team football that they have played has come in those 6 quarters. That's a good thing. Can they get better? Obviously. But the thing that remains in the back of our minds is if they keep playing consistently, because we're going to keep pointing out how favorable the schedule is to the Ravens. There isn't a game that appears to be all that difficult until the final week of the season. I guess we should put in that as the Browns are going to get Deshaun Watson back, or I guess get back isn't the right way to say that because they haven't had him. The Browns are going to add Deshaun Watson into the mix. The trip to Cleveland could become a bit more perilous. It's not fair to judge that game necessarily by what the Browns have been. And I don't know what Deshaun Watson is going to look like, having not played football for a couple of years. I don't know if he'll just step right in and be Deshaun Watson again. I don't know that there won't be another lawsuit that comes out or something that prevents Deshaun Watson from playing. I have no idea. But I do know with certainty, I mean, beyond a shadow of a doubt, I do know that game, we kept talking about the fact that they don't play another team with a winning record until the end of the season. It's probably unfair for us to believe that that's just some sort of gimme for the Ravens on the schedule. But the schedule does shape up favorably for the Ravens. And there's an opportunity to go from 6-3 to 7-3 against Carolina, 8-3, 9-3, whatever. Keep stockpiling wins, suddenly look up and have one of the best records in football, and still to have this question in the back of our minds like, yeah, but are you doing enough to beat the Bills, provided Josh Allen is healthy? Are you doing enough to beat the Chiefs? Can this style of football beat those teams? Roquan Smith looked great last night. It was excellent. Immediate impact. And we didn't even see him wreck the game last night necessarily. He just played a really solid football game that allowed for other guys to step up and make plays. And the tackles he made were very sure tackles. Now, progress that. Add Marcus Williams back into the equation. Add David Ajabo back into the equation. Tyus Bowser looked pretty good setting the edge last night, huh? How did Alvin Kamara do? Anybody heard from him? I mean, I assume he played. Defense looks good. Defense is trending in the right direction. Defense appears to be coming in. The Justin Houston thing is absolutely insane. I have no idea how to describe it. It's hard-pressed for me to imagine that this pace can continue because think about what that would be. We're talking about him being on pace for a 20-sack season. He's got 8.5 in 6 games. With 8 games. With 8 games still on the schedule. I mean, he's on pace for one of the most monstrous seasons in Ravens history. I don't know that can continue, but I can't deny what's happening. The defense is moving in the absolute correct direction. There's just the thing that we're going to keep having in the back of our minds, which is this the thing? Can you win maybe multiple games against the best teams in the AFC? There's some scenario that presents itself where your playoff path could be something like Bengals, Dolphins, Chiefs, Bills. Sorry. Can't be that. Can't pay all 4 of them. Bengals or Dolphins.
I thought you were grouping in Bengals like the week 17 or week 18.
Yeah, I mean, you can throw that in as well. Like the end of your season, week 18 could be the Bengals. Then you could end up, I guess it couldn't really.
Yeah, it could be Dolphins.
Yeah, the Dolphins absolutely could end up being the 5. And if you're
could be Jets.
If you're the 4. Well, I think the Bills and the Dolphins are likely to be the top 2 teams in that division. So if you're assuming that the Bills and the Chiefs are the top 2 seeds, and then it's whoever, I guess the Ravens would be more likely to be the 3. I guess it's unlikely that the AFC South winner is probably, the Titans are probably going to be the 4, so they would probably get the Dolphins. So maybe you avoid the Dolphins, but maybe it's Bengals, Bills, Chiefs.
You never know. Jeff Saturday could rally those troops.
Yeah, I don't think so. And to be fair, maybe the Dolphins could win the East. I don't know. I know I'm projecting a lot here, but I'm talking about a scenario where we could end up playing 3 quantified, legitimate, full-blooded teams. The Bengals team that gets Jamar Chase back in 3 weeks in the postseason. And the question is, as good as this is it enough to beat those teams in the playoffs? And obviously there's no correct answer. We don't know. I understand that. I'm asking questions that are pure hypothetical because the games won't be played until then, and we don't know what the Ravens will look like at that point. We don't know what those teams will look like. I mean, if Josh Allen has a significant injury, it completely reshapes, and I guess the reporting yesterday is that it doesn't appear as though it's significant, but it completely reshapes the picture of the AFC. That's the thing that keeps just sort of lingering. You like what the Ravens are doing. Big thumbs up all around. But that part of it just sort of lingers in the back of your mind. Yes, thank you, John Proctor. Kamara had 9 carries for 30 yards. I didn't know that. I mean, I don't know that I knew the exact numbers, but I did know he did basically nothing. That was
he was lucky my fantasy matchup was in hand.
Or what might have happened.
I would have been upset. I would have been upset.
I would prefer to just go ahead and abandon fantasy football the rest of the season. There ain't nothing there for me. It is dreck. I mean, just dreck. Thank you to Aaron Rodgers. God. Go do some more ayahuasca, Chief. I'd rather not, but we'll talk to Joe Serpico anyway, because maybe some of you still have relevant fantasy football.
I'm still alive.
At stake. My team stinks. Garbage group. That's the only thing I keep thinking about. I'll probably write about it tomorrow for PressBoxOnline.com. That again becomes the context, I think, for the rest of the season. Do you believe the Ravens are trending towards being a team that can beat the best teams in the AFC? And it doesn't mean that I'm being dismissive of any of the games that they're playing. I think it's easy to fall into traps. And the difficulty for the Ravens out of the bye is going to be to make sure that this team doesn't rest and doesn't take anything lightly, despite the fact that there aren't big games looming at any point soon. They'll have to make sure that this team stays sharp every week. We've all been dismissive of Carolina throughout the course of the season. Well, a week ago, Carolina looked like a football team. Atlanta's looked like a football team at times this season. All of these teams are capable of winning games. So I don't want to be dismissive of them, but it seems like it shapes up well for the Ravens to go on a nice little run here, coming out of the bye, particularly if they do indeed get Mark Andrews and Gus Edwards back. It's the other awkward part about last night that we discussed, which is it's easy to fall into the trap of saying, maybe it was better for the Ravens to not have Mark Andrews on the field because Lamar Jackson had to look in other places. No, that's dumb. It's a dumb thing to say. I get what you're trying to say. You're just not saying it eloquently. What maybe the right way to say it is, hey, if Mark Andrews isn't going to play, maybe Lamar throwing the ball to a couple other guys could help build some rapport with those guys, and that could be beneficial when Mark Andrews gets back. You're never better without your best playmaker on the field. That's insanity. But if you're going to miss Mark Andrews, the way the Ravens have for the last 6 quarters, you're hoping, for example, on those 2 long 7-minute drives in the first half yesterday, Lamar went to 8 different pass catchers. You're hoping that spreads and that having to throw the ball to Demarcus Robinson last week, having to throw the ball to James Prochet this week, even one to Deshaun Jackson, you're hoping that having to go to other places, the touchdown to Isaiah Likely, he tried to go back to Isaiah Likely a couple times last night. You're hoping that spreads. And then when you get Mark Andrews back out on the field, there's more of a rapport, there's more of a trust, there's more of a relationship built between Lamar and these other players that he's not just always looking to go to Mark Andrews. They're definitely not better not having Mark Andrews on the field. That's insane. That's bonkers. But you're hoping they get Mark Andrews back, they get Gus Edwards back out of the bye. You're still going to be kind of who you are at wide receiver. Nothing you can do about that, unfortunately. I mean, I guess unless you can sign Odell Beckham this week, and I'm very much interested, I want to make that abundantly clear, very interested in that possibility. You hope that behooves you as things continue this season. Overall, obviously a very good night. Continue to get me your pats on the ass. Coming soon, the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill, the perfect ceramic tailgate or home grill for searing, grilling, baking, and smoking all kinds of food. Get the details and reserve yours today at ginsugrills.com and use the code TAILGATE to get $100 off your order. I hear this man is celebrating a birthday today. I know. I actually don't know how old he is. If I saw him, I'd probably guess he was about 37. He is our friend, Ravens Super Bowl champion. And, of course, you see him on WJZ with our buddy Mark Viviano. He is our pal, Qadry Ismail, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Qadry, happy birthday, my friend.
Why, thank you very much. And I appreciate the overinflated guess of my age.
If you and I stood next to each other, there's zero chance that anyone would think that you were older than I was. Let's be honest about that. Zero chance that would
Man,
be
come on. Come on, that's just too kind of you. I'm 52 and loving life, and very, very thankful and grateful for friendships, lasting friendships, similar to what we have and share. And you gotta look and reflect on things, and I am definitely in a reflective mood.
Well, let's reflect on what we saw. The Ravens, I think, on the whole, for team football, for all sides of the ball, these last 6 quarters, despite not having Mark Andrews, despite not having Gus Edwards, despite not having Rashad Bateman or J.K. Dobbins, these last 6 quarters of football seem to be the most complete quarters of football that they have played this season. What do you feel about the way this team is trending as they head into their bye?
I think part of this game is riding the waves and not getting too high and not getting too low. I think it's extremely difficult for us as fans on the outside to get, just that even-killedness. Whereas when you're on the inside, you have that ability to, sit there and examine and self-reflect. And, you just don't know all of what goes on within a locker room and within a team unit. Some teams you think, oh man, on paper they look amazing. And then all of a sudden, just because you got the name on the back of the jersey, you still got to perform and things start falling apart. There's no way you're telling me Frank Reich over at the Colts is going to get fired mid-season. There's no way you're telling me the Eagles are going to be 8-0 with Jalen Hurts. There's no way you're going to tell me that the Broncos are going to have the kind of weirdness of let's ride and doing workouts on long flights. There's no way you're going to tell me Las Vegas
is league MVP.
Geno Smith is balling, came back with a doggone vengeance, and Las Vegas having their sufferings, or Tommy down in Tampa having his issues, or how about Aaron Rodgers? So my point is that every year we love it. I am not a big off-season guy, but there are people who love the off-season more than they love the season because they get to speculate and they get to that's their wheelhouse. Oh, the salary cap, and if we get this guy, but then if what about this? Oh, his measurables and all that. Man, you got to play. And I think what we've seen is that this is a team that has some really good depth, and in that depth there's a preparation factor, because if you prepare yourself and you have coaches that prepare you to put you in the best position to win, then you're going to put yourself in a position 9 times out of 10 to have a chance to win. And I think that's what we're looking at with the Ravens.
What we've seen over the course of the last 6 quarters, Qadry, the second half Tampa game and last night, that brand of football seems to be what the Ravens can be when they're at their best, right? Long drives, mixing in the pass with a dominant run game, and a defense that's been outstanding. If that type of football can continue, is that good enough for the Ravens to be able to beat the top teams in the AFC? If they can continue this trend and keep playing like this the second half of the season, can they beat the Bills and the Chiefs and the Dolphins and the Bengals, all of those teams playing this style of football when we get to the postseason?
I think so. I think this team is built for a strong postseason. I think the main thing is that now you have the Roquan Smith effect. I think defensively you have a renewed energy in the middle of the field. You don't have, that guy that can't make a play. They're in position, but, that back is just a little bit better. That back is going to, be able to outrun you or be able to lower his shoulders, spin off of you and get the extra yards, or, make an explosive run. You don't have that issue. So from an overall aspect of things. You got the GOAT at kicker, and you have a punter that can change field position. You have, a returner that if you give him space, he's going to get, 10 to 12 yards minimum on a return. You have, generational talent at quarterback, yet you also have, a guy in Ronnie Stanley who has really kind of settled down that offensive line. That's what we've been waiting for. And that's what I actually said in the beginning of the year. If we go back, I was like, when Ronnie Stanley comes back, that's where this isn't quite bully ball of 19. So let's, we'll go ahead and table that. But, with Ronnie Stanley back, things look a heck of a lot better. And I think that's part of, the flow of all this. And Mark Andrews is not there.
Right.
And J.K. Dobbins is not there. And Marcus Williams, let's not forget about him, is not there. And Gus Edwards, is chilling. All these guys are going to be coming back. Ajabo, who, he's a rookie, so we're not exactly sure. But, these guys have that, opportunity to get back and get into a groove. It's about, again, for them on the inside, taking it, week by week, moment by moment. But for us, it's, look at the possibilities.
He is Qadry Ismail, the birthday boy. He is with us here on Glenn Clark Radio. Qadry, to your point, defensively, this is shaping up to be kind of a dominant unit. Look, Roquan Smith is a hell of a football player. We all knew that. But what we didn't know was what Justin Houston was going to be doing this season. How do you explain the renaissance that this man is experiencing? He's going to be 34 in January, which I want to make sure we're clear about. That doesn't make him over the hill. There's a difference between 37, 38, and 34 in NFL terms, but it's still advanced. I think we'd all agree with that as far as the position that he plays. How do you explain just how unbelievable this season has been for Justin Houston?
Well, first, I think it was really smart of him to recognize his body and to chill when he had the groin kind of pop up on him early in the season. And for him to take off those games, plus, the way John Harbaugh patterns the vet days and all those things, shoot, man, I think, that's all you need. Give me some break. Give me a little rest. I don't need to play 17 games. Give me a couple moments here and there, key moments. Tommy is feeling it. I'm sure Andy is feeling it himself. So both scenarios were impact plays, sudden plays, and, game-changing type plays. So, shoot, give me just enough. I don't need save it for the young guys. Save it for, Tyus. Save it for Owe, and save it for, guys that got that fresh leg. All I need to do is just, what do they call him, Yoda last year and Sensei this year?
Yeah.
All right. He understands when he needs to do what he needs to do.
No, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable witnessing right now, man. He's on pace for damn near 20 sacks this season, which is, it's absurdity. It's purely absurd what he's been able to put together. Qadry, just from there's not a lot to nitpick about last night, but we saw in the fourth quarter that stretch where they went from delay of game to what should have been another delay of game on the play afterwards. One of the things that we have talked about a lot is how late play calls seem to be coming in over the last couple of seasons, and how many times the Ravens are snapping the ball at 1 or 0 on the clock or not getting the play off. You saw the frustration from Lamar, and I didn't blame him at all. I have no issue, and you can tell me what you think about a quarterback being a little bit demonstrative. I think you sometimes need the leader to be that guy to say, this isn't acceptable that these things are happening. You went from 2nd and 5 when you had a chance to put a team away to 3rd and 14. How do you explain what's going on there? What do they do to clean up some of those things?
So obviously, every system has its nomenclature, and some systems are real simple and other systems are very complex. I know when I was with the Colts, Peyton Manning's system was, hey, everybody just get to the line. We'll call a play, but everybody get to the line. Then I will disseminate what's going on and give us the best chance to be in position. So there wasn't a lot of movement. There wasn't a lot of motion. It was like, all right, here's what the defense is going to do. Let's go. At the same time, when Brian Billick ruled the roost here in Baltimore, the nomenclature, it was just the right amount. It gave you information that you can get to the line like, all right, cool. We practiced when it was, okay, a lot of motions and shifts for a given week, and you just kind of like, all right, cool, we got it. I think there is also that West Coast offense where you overly do it and it gets so complicated, and then it kind of is like, what the world? I think it's not West Coast offense, but it's the Greg Roman system of overly complex running game, trying to out leverage. Do we go right? Do we go left? Pull? Do we not pull? Do we stay? Is it an RPO? What is it? And I think sometimes you overly do it, and that overly do it, obviously, the the rules of the game. Hey, you got a clock. And so all of that being said needs to be tightened up, and I think this bye week comes at a perfect time.
I think it's a very good point. And I just want to, on the Qadry stuff, it was brought up, Sean is checking in as he said, I both times that we saw those outbursts from Lamar, players came up to shake hands with him afterwards. It was great to see the respect they have for him. I didn't think that was him undressing.
Man, can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me jump in real quick because I think Ronnie Stanley, so when he was frustrated, he was like, snap me the ball, snap me the ball, snap me the ball.
Right.
I think Lamar was frustrated more on the lines of, he didn't get Demarcus Robinson on 2 plays that he should have had.
Sure.
I think the frustration kind of it's in the red zone. It's other scenarios. He's like, I know we could do better. Then I think the veteran savvy, we say veteran, he's still young, but veteran savvy of Ronnie to kind of like, yo, don't be trying to go after my boy Tyler. But then at the same time, it was all chill, and then they talked about it on the sideline, and off they went. So I think, yes, you're right. It's good to see him fiery, but I loved the fact that you had your big dog kind of settling everything down from an offensive line standpoint. So, Lamar recognized it, and it was cool, but I loved all of it. I loved the exchange of it all. It was cool.
Yeah, look, you're not going to have another Ray Lewis. He's just so unique in what he brought to the table, but I don't know why it would ever be a problem for someone to be a demonstrative leader, right? Like Anquan Bolden was a demonstrative leader. We didn't see it the same way publicly because he did way more of it behind the scenes. You tell me, Qadry, is there something wrong? I know that there's a difference and it can cross a line and there can be a time where it becomes poisonous because someone it's not leadership as much as it's trying to put themselves on a pedestal and they're not. But when you have someone who is a leader that's calling guys out or saying we have to be better, I don't feel like that's a bad thing for a football team, is it?
No, that's what makes you a good football team. It's like not allowing mediocrity to exist. The mediocrity is like, it's okay. And, remember we were like, hey, Lamar, are you a vocal leader? Or, hey, when he was early in his career, I think it's not that he's vocal or vocaler or whatever. I think he's just sensing more and he has more, if you will, a freedom in his platform to be like, look, let's do this. And the let's do this is we got to do it with a sense of urgency. We are good, but it's not going to be good enough. It's not going to be good against Josh. It's not going to be good against Patrick. And those are the measuring sticks in my conference that I'm going to be measured by. So be it. I got to play better, but hey, if I'm playing better, y'all better well play better too. And so, I think there's going to be some conversations within, the staff as far as how can we get better calling plays and formations and all the things and personnel packages and not overcomplicate it. But then also, that's going to help us get an advantage over defense.
No doubt about it. All right, Qadry, for as good as the Ravens have looked for the last 6 weeks, I think we would still say with Rashad Bateman out that, they're kind of limited at wide receiver. We know there's a name who's out there who's allegedly a little bit closer to returning than we thought. How interested would you be in Odell Beckham?
Nope.
No? Okay. Tell me why.
Nope. Because it's just no. I think there's a delicate balance of every team and every organization, and some horses for courses, to use that phrase. I think he's for sure he's box office. For sure he's that guy that can claim the charismatic flow of an organization, of a team, of a city. But I think I think he flourished in LA. I think Buffalo isn't exactly woo. But I think again, from what this team is built on and how it is built, no, I'm good.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. We will see. I still think that there might be a place that he'd rather be than Baltimore, but it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Remind everybody about missile training, my friends.
Yes, missile training at my new facility up in North Hartford County.
Where is that?
Yeah, it's up in Hartford County. You see, what happens is, have your listeners DM me if they want to hook themselves up, moving pain-free. But if they're one of those people that just say, oh my gosh, my daughter or my son, they got to get faster. Bam, I got that too for you. Let's do this.
At I am Qadry Ismail is the way to go about doing that. And then are you guys doing anything on WJZ between now and Carolina?
Yeah, we're going to have another show, Purple pregame, every Sunday, 11:30 on WJZ. And Mark and we were just holding it down last night. We actually did a pre- and post-game show last night as well as Sunday. So we're having a lot of fun. It is awesome. Rick Ritter also is rolling with us too. So great crew to work with.
Happy birthday, my friend. Always appreciate you. Look forward to doing it again here in a few weeks. Thank you for taking the time for me as always, bud.
Indeed. Thank you for the birthday wishes.
Qadry Ismail, Super Bowl champion, one of the great receivers in Ravens history. And as I constantly remind you all, you guys are way too dismissive, and you've all forgotten of exactly how productive Qadry Ismail was. I think just because he's part of the furniture around here, like we've all – and I mean that. I think because Qadry's been so accessible over the years, he's been just kind of one of us. You've seen him out at places. Like he doesn't come off as maybe a celebrity in any stretch of the imagination. I think it's made you forget just how good. And all the time we have these conversations, people are like, yeah, well, Steve Smith was one. I'm like, yeah, no offense. Steve Smith was not the player production-wise that Qadry Ismail was in Baltimore. He wasn't. No disrespect. You guys have just somehow all forgotten that. It's very weird to me, the way that that's worked over the years. But appreciate him taking the time. Gonna agree to disagree. I am very much interested in Odell Beckham. I would race to get Odell Beckham. I understand the argument of, hey, when something's working, don't rock the apple cart. But did any of us say that about Roquan Smith? I think we're falling back on this trope of Odell Beckham being a me guy. And I'm not going to pretend like there haven't been moments in his career where Odell Beckham hasn't been a me guy. I think it's very clear that there have been some me moments in Odell Beckham's career. I think there's a lot of wide receivers that are like that.
It's less risked as well. You're just taking him for half a season. It's not like it's a long-term deal, multi-year deal.
And the most recent thing we saw. Now, if somebody wanted to say, hey, last year was his, he got his ring. So who knows now what the priority is for Odell Beckham? Is the priority now for him to be somewhere this year where he can put up monster numbers, prove it, and get another real contract in the NFL next year? I mean, I don't know if that's going to come for Odell Beckham, but maybe. I could understand the argument. It'd be easier if he hadn't won the Super Bowl a year ago. Like if Cincinnati had scored on the final drive and there was still that, he got a taste of it and what it takes, and now he'll be so hell-bent on winning a Super Bowl that, he'll be as selfless as you could ever possibly imagine him being. Somebody might say, well, that's kind of, he got his ring. So Will it be that way? I don't know. I can't. I don't know Odell Beckham personally, so I can't speak to that. But I'd take the chance. 1,000%. I'd take that chance. I don't think Odell Beckham will end up in Baltimore. And it's not about I don't even know how interested the Ravens are. Maybe the Ravens feel the way that Qadry Ismail feels. But I just believe that ultimately Odell Beckham will look at other places, cough, cough, Kansas City, maybe Buffalo, but the presence of Stephon Diggs there is pretty overwhelming. And I'm not sure if you heard, but it's pretty miserable in Buffalo in these months of the year. I think Kansas City makes an awful lot of sense. I know that Green Bay is one that jumps off the page at you, but the Packers at this point kind of stink. I don't know how much you want to go to a team that just kind of stinks. I think if we're being honest, the Cowboys make a ton of sense. You get another game to play against the Giants. Have they? What the hell is that? This is the second time that this has happened. My phone just starts playing something. What the hell is going on? I think the Cowboys make an awful lot of sense. Weather's nice, good football team, opportunities there. Can maybe try to ruin the Giants' season in the process. I think that the Cowboys would make a ton of sense for Odell Beckham if you had your choice of where you want to be. Like, I was doing that math in my head earlier. If I was Odell Beckham and I got to pick, and I'm presuming that everybody's interested, right? Because it's also possible that some of these teams aren't actually interested. But I had my choice. I would at least want to listen to the Chargers if I liked my time in L.A., if I enjoyed the experience being in L.A., I would at least want to listen to the Chargers because I don't know what the story is on Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. Like, I don't know when those guys are getting back, but there could be an opportunity there with a very good quarterback to both be productive, be in a warm weather place, play indoor football, do all of those things in a city that you were familiar with. Now, if that part of it, if the LA part isn't relevant to him, then I think there are better football options. If I'm Odell Beckham, I'm just not all that going to an extremely cold place for a couple of months where you're playing outdoor football just ain't as appealing to me, man. I'm going to sign up for playing indoor football. I'm going to sign up for playing in places where the climate doesn't dictate what it is that you're able to do on a field. That's why Dallas just jumps off the page at me for Odell Beckham. If I'm Odell Beckham, everything about the Cowboys. Now, I get it. Patrick Mahomes is definitely better than Dak Prescott. There's no debate about that. Josh Allen is definitely better than Dak Prescott. I believe Lamar Jackson is definitely better than Dak Prescott. But Dak Prescott's good. He's a legitimate quarterback on a team that's playing well, that can run the ball. There are other, like, you wouldn't get all of the attention in Dallas. They have other players, but nobody that's an obvious number one that's got to get the ball 14 times a game. It all kind of makes sense to me that if I were Odell Beckham, that's the place where I might want to be. Now, I hope not. I hope that Baltimore would be intriguing to him. Deshaun Jackson was interested, but that's because he was interested in anyone that would employ him to play football at this point in his life.
No, he wanted that Jackson to Jackson.
Right, the Jackson to Jackson, which we did get to see last night.
It was awesome.
Okay, sure. We'll go with that.
He's got a bye week to get healthy. It's going to be...
Yeah. The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines. You can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today. When we come back in, Joe Serpico from PressBox, our weekly Waiver Wire Wednesday conversation. That's next. Glenn Clark Radio. Have you been to Guilford Hall Brewery? Located in Baltimore's Station North neighborhood, Guilford Hall Brewery breaks the craft brew mold with their great handcrafted microbrews and amazing Bavarian-style food selections. Join Guilford Hall 7 days a week for Orioles, Ravens, and all of your favorite college games. Make plans now to watch the big games, play trivia, or bring your dog for Yappy Hour. They even have free valet service on Friday and Saturday nights. Go to guilfordhall.com for a complete schedule of events, beer listings, and food and drink specials. We'll see you at Guilford Hall Brewery.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
What's up, everyone? This is Tyus Bowser, and I'm excited to tell you that I'm back for Season 2 of the Tyus Bowser Show in partnership with PressBox and Great H Memorabilia. Join us on Tuesday nights throughout the season as I'll be heading all over town with my special guests, and of course, our co-hosts, Glenn and Rita. Or is it Rita and Glenn? What is it? I look forward to meeting you guys and talking a little bit about football and a lot about life. And if you happen to miss the show, you can now catch a replay Friday nights on 105.7 The Fan. Get all of your details for the Tyus Bowser Show right now at PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser.
The next Tyus Bowser Show is Tuesday, November 15th at Mother's North Grill in Timonium. It's brought to you by Maryland Vascular Specialists and the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill.
Sports betting has come to Maryland, and we're ready to help you win some money. Tune in for Simply the Bets every Tuesday morning at 11:40. FanDuel Sportsbook GM Leon Twyman and VSiN's Aaron Oster join the guys every week to give you all of the info you need and offer you a few winners. And every other Thursday at 11:40, tune in for Weekend at Bookies as Andrew Stecca and Alloy Sports' Brad Kronthal help make you some money for the weekend. So come win some money with us on Simply the Bets every Tuesday and Weekend at Bookies every other Thursday. Brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. Watch at YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline.
Glory Days Grill's Oktoberfest menu is now running. It's one of their most popular seasonal menus all year. It features the chicken schnitzel, the Oktoberfest brewer's platter, the brewer's sausage sandwich, the Bavarian burger with a pretzel bun, the cheddar ale soup, the slam dunk pretzels, and the apple cobbler. All of these meals pair well with Oktoberfest beers and Angry Orchard on draft. Dine in or order online at glorydaysgrill.com and pick up your favorites to take home. Glory Days Grill, great food, good sports.
Check out Jeremy Kahn's daily picks at PressBoxOnline.com as he tries to find you daily winners. And speaking of winners, here's a man who once won a media curling contest, and I don't think anything else. He's Glenn Clark.
Back in here on GCR, Baltimore area Chick-fil-A restaurants invite you to support Toys for Tots this Saturday, November 12th. Donate a new toy at any of their 13 Stuff the Truck locations and receive a free chicken sandwich offer card as a thank you. For more information, visit PressBoxOnline.com/toy drive. All right, it is Tuesday. I know the Ravens played last night, but we do have to move things along during the course of the week. Joining us now to look ahead to Waiver Wire Wednesday. I don't even think this man can save my fantasy team, but we'll give it a try anyway. He is our friend Joe Serpico, PressBox fantasy football analyst, and he's back with us on GCR. Joe, what's going on, man? How are you?
Hanging in there, Glenn. I'll try to save that team, but again, no promises. This is a light week for waiver purposes. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, not a lot that stands out. I actually think that the two names to me that are the most interesting names to discuss this week are guys who haven't played football at all this season, and I want to start there. One, some of the news that percolated about Odell Beckham over the last couple of days. He was only even available in one of my 3 leagues by the time I heard about it, and grabbed him, so I'm guessing that in most places he was scooped up. Do you feel like it makes sense for, if he happens to be on the waiver wire, for you to use a waiver claim, or is this actually kind of foolish, the rush that everybody's in, considering we're talking about someone who hasn't played football since the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with the latter there, just because of the fact, like you alluded to, he hasn't played since the Super Bowl. He's got to learn a new system. We've seen typically when guys come off an injury like that, it takes them a couple of weeks to get acclimated to the new team, and then, let's face it, he probably is going to be on a short leash the first couple of weeks, maybe play 10, 15 snaps, something along those lines. So it's kind of hard to put a whole lot of trust in Odell. Now, could he be somebody who is a potential league winner down the stretch? Absolutely, especially if he goes to, let's say, the Cowboys, which seem to be right now the team that he's most linked to. And we know that, at least as of last year and some parts of this year, the Cowboys offense can be prolific. And then, the obvious with CeeDee Lamb on the other side, so you can't really double cover either one of those guys. I'm not sure if I'm willing to use some fab on him now. So it could be a little bit different, because we are reaching the end part of the season. And if you haven't spent a whole lot of fab, maybe you can do it for like a buck or two, and just, if you want to really get him on your team. But it's going to be one of those situations where I can't see him starting, at least for the first couple of weeks, and then we kind of got to wait and see if you can rely on him to be a starter at all.
Yeah, that's where I am. Look, I when he was free and it was available, I'm happy to grab him, but I could also see him being somebody that I drop when I need something else as I look at buy issues.
Exactly.
This is the reality for it. But, yeah, putting anything that costs you, I don't know what to make of it. And then this is week 10, right? And so because of that, we have to acknowledge that after this week, Deshaun Watson is back into the equation. Where are you with Deshaun Watson? And look, I don't like the guy, but I'm in quarterback hell. I mean, I've kept trying different things. I tried Bailey Zappi. I tried Jared Goff. I tried Trevor. I mean, I've tried everything to try to solve my issues in my Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson leagues, and nothing has been a solution. I missed out on Justin Fields. I didn't think I was going to be playing him anyway because I was like, hey, it's Aaron Rodgers against the Lions. I have to play him, don't I? Idiot, dummy, stupid. Are you using a waiver claim now to get ahead of things on Deshaun Watson?
I'm with you on the Aaron Rodgers thing. He was my favorite play for DFS this week. I was trying to stack as many of those guys as possible. So, yeah. You and I are both dummies for that round because he just flat out stinks, so it seems like right now. But getting back to Deshaun, you could say whatever you want about him as a person, but when he has been on the field, you can't argue with the success he's had. Now, the caveat with him is he also hasn't played in a year and a half,
right.
2 years. So, that's something you got to take into account. I guess the good thing that you can say is it's not like he comes in, fresh off the streets and is learning everything on the fly. He was there in the preseason. He does get a couple of weeks to kind of get ramped up before he gets back in the game action. And his first game is against his former team, and the Texans' defense is really bad. So he's got a little bit of a revenge factor and the fact that they're kind of bad. But he's a guy, like you said, if you're in quarterback hell, why not take a flyer on him? We have seen that he will get you some points on the ground, and when he is on the field at his best, he was a top 5 option. So, yeah, another guy, kind of what I said to Odell, if you want to use maybe $1 or $2 to stash him away, because, again, you are going to have to stash him away for another week or two because I believe their bye is mixed in as well. And then their schedule isn't the greatest down the stretch. But if you're in quarterback hell, I don't see why not take a flyer on him for, let's say, $1 or $2. Hope he catches some fire because, like I said, he's not just somebody that's coming off the street. He's the guy that's been there for a little bit.
He is Joe Serpico, PressBox fantasy football analyst. He's with us here on GCR. Joe, let's talk about another few names. I'll begin. Jeff Wilson seems like one that kind of leads the way this week, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually a little bit surprised to see how widely available he was, considering that the early part of the season, when he was getting the opportunities in San Francisco, I would say it was borderline 15, 20 running back for you. Somebody you could definitely rely on to be a starter, especially at the flex spot. And it kind of threw a curveball this week because, we'd seen for most of the year, I could probably say the same thing about Raheem Mostert. So when they made that trade, a lot of people thought that they were going to split, and that's kind of what happened. They did split for the most part this week. But you could kind of see that in crunch time, it looked like it was Wilson that was on the field, and his familiarity with the offense obviously helps his case. But it's just one of those situations that, okay, maybe he was the guy that had the hot hand this week. So it could be Mostert again next week. It was a little bit shocking, honestly. I thought there would be, maybe like a week or two to kind of get acclimated to the team and whatnot, but they kind of threw him into the fire. But he is available in more than 50% of leagues, which, again, kind of blew my mind a little bit. So If he's out there, you absolutely got to go get him just because, like I kind of said last week, we've kind of reached that time of the year where you kind of want to save your running backs and get as many of those as you can on your roster. Just because, they're one injury away from being a potential lottery ticket to close out the season.
Not available in any of my leagues, which is so cool. So cool. That's a neat story. I feel like everybody was talking about this guy, and then the Steelers were off last week, and so I don't know where we are with him, but I feel like he was a really hot name to be picked up Tell me about what you think of Jaylen Warren.
He's basically, kind of what I was just talking about, a backup running back that if something were to happen to Najee Harris, that it looks like it's his job. I believe Blake Snell would be the third-string guy there, and he has 1-2 carries on the whole season. So if anybody's going to step up and take the job, it sounds like it's going to be him. Like I kind of just said about Wilson, if you got, let's say, a second tight end that you really are not going to play the rest of the way, if your number one guy has already had his bye, I would try to stash as many of those guys as possible. I would do the same for, let's say, like a Rashid White, or, I've seen Alexander Madison's open in a lot of leagues, Kenneth Gainwell, guys like that, again, if their guy ahead of him was to get banged up, those are guys that you can, basically plug and play, as opposed to, holding on to your fourth, fifth wide receiver or backup quarterback, backup tight end that you might not play the rest of the way. These guys will actually offer you some flex value if something were to happen to any of the guys ahead of them.
You've talked a little bit about Terrence Marshall the last couple of weeks. It seems like that continues to trend as he's not a monster, but a guy that's worth having on your roster.
Yeah, ever since the move to get Robbie Anderson out of Carolina, he's seen a huge uptick in targets, and that's all you can ask for at the receiver position. Things were ugly this past week for them going against the Bengals. I mean, what we saw from Joe Mixon was one of the greatest fantasy performances of all time.
Yes, it was.
But Marshall, as long as Marshall is on a team that stinks and they're going to air it out as much as they do, he's somebody that you can absolutely throw in as, say, your flex, or if you're in a 3 wide receiver league, to throw them in that spot. Little worried about with the performance we saw from P.J. Walker, and now it looks like they're in another quarterback conundrum there, where it's 1 week it might be Walker, and the next week it might be Baker. That sounds like Sam Darnold's about ready to go too. But as long as they're in trailing in a lot of these games, they're going to keep throwing the ball, and he's the clear number 2 now. I mean, DJ Moore is obviously going to get as many touches as possible, but Marshall has been a guy that you can kind of rely on these past couple weeks.
Rondale Moore, I think we need to discuss, right?
Yeah, he's another guy kind of in the same boat. He's just got a huge uptick in targets since the injury to Marquise Brown. I'm not 100% sold on Robbie Anderson. It doesn't seem like the Cardinals are absolutely yet either. So they've been working him a lot in. Now they are really, really throwing the ball a ton to DeAndre Hopkins. And after you saw the catch this weekend, my God, that guy's got hands of glue.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rondale Moore is definitely somebody who kind of fits the bill. Actually, I would have him ranked a little bit ahead of Terrace Marshall just because the quarterback situation is a lot better, and that offense is just throwing it about 40, 50 times a game just because that's the style of offense that Cliff Kingsbury runs there. But Rondale Moore, another guy absolutely you want to have on your radar. If you need somebody in a flex spot or 3 wide receiver leagues, you absolutely want to have him on your team.
All right, who else are you thinking about this week?
The guy I kind of talked about, I'm still mind-boggled that Justin Fields is available in 50% of leagues. So if he's still out there for you, go get him. Do whatever you need to do to get that guy on your team.
No, why would you do that when you can play Aaron Rodgers against the Lions? Why would you go out and get Justin Fields when you have that option?
Yeah, no, it is kind of crazy that's kind of worked out, and it's about time that the Bears kind of figured out, hey, let him use his strengths as opposed to trying to make him something he's not.
Yeah.
He's my number 1 pickup for this week. If you're looking for the tight end, which trust me, there's plenty of people looking for tight ends just because the whole the position as a whole is just terrible. We've seen kind of Cole Kmet emerge with Justin Fields the past couple weeks, and then the other one that I'm kind of surprised he's still as widely available as he is, and I know I talked about him maybe last week or 2 weeks ago. That's Greg Dulcich from the Broncos. Yeah. He's finished as a top 12 option in all 3 games he's played in. Russell Wilson seems to kind of like him in the offense, so he's another guy that I'm kind of keeping an eye on. And then one more would be Mecole Hardman. I know we talked about him maybe last week as well, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, but they look like that they're trying to get the ball in his hands as often as possible, whether it be in the run game or in the pass game. So again, if you need somebody at that wide receiver 3 flex spot, those are a couple of options for you there.
Go ahead. I think, Griffin, you had a question. You want to get one in?
Yeah, sure. Am I dropping Geno Smith to get Justin Fields? Because I'm in a 2 quarterback max league. Like, I can only own 2 quarterbacks, so I'd have to drop Geno Smith to get Justin Fields. Is that
Who's your other option?
Two is my other one. Then I don't want to drop him.
No, you don't drop Tua. Ooh, that's a good question. That's a good one. Because what we have seen the past couple of weeks from Fields, especially what he's doing on the ground. Geno is elusive as well, but he doesn't give the same kind of numbers. He's probably doing, let's say, around somewhere 20, 30 yards rushing per game. He does have the better receiving core, that's for sure. But what we've seen from Fields, top 5 finishes the 2 weeks prior, and he's number 1 quarterback overall this past week. I'm
going for upside,
Fields. I just think, I'm going with Fields at this point, just because, especially now that we're getting that time of the year where that cold weather comes into play, especially in Chicago. They're probably going to rely on his legs even more. So, I would kind of go with Fields over Geno Smith. That is a tough call, don't get me wrong. I probably have Fields at number 7 the rest of the way, as opposed to Geno's probably somewhere sitting around 11 or 12.
What a world we live in. What a world we live in. All right, at Joe Serp on Twitter is how you follow him. You see his stuff every day, PressBoxOnline.com. Joe Serpico, appreciate you, my friend. We'll talk to you again next Tuesday, all right?
All right, anytime, guys. Take care.
Joe Serpico, PressBox fantasy football analyst, joining us here on GCR. When we come back in, because I wasn't here yesterday, we haven't had a chance to go over a brutal picks weekend. We'll do that quickly, and then, of course, we'll dish out our pats on the ass. If you've not gotten me yours, at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter, get them in right now. Today's show also brought to you by Guilford Hall Brewery. Love Guilford Hall, 1611 Guilford Avenue in Station North. It is one of the coolest places in town. If you have not been, you are missing out on a true gem in our community. Yappy Hour, live music, trivia during the week. So many great events. Again, guilfordhall.com in order to find out more. Glenn Clark Radio. Receive a free Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich offer card as a thank you when you donate to Toys for Tots on Saturday, November 12th at any of the 13 Baltimore area Chick-fil-A Stuff the Truck event sites. Be one of the first 50 people to donate, and you will also get a free t-shirt. For a location list and more information, visit PressBoxOnline.com/toy drive.
Come experience Maryland's #1 sportsbook this NFL season at the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel, the ultimate place for any sports enthusiast. Take advantage of our 24/7 kiosks, massive video screens, and watch all the action from the best seat in the house. With more money paid out than anyone around, make every moment more at the new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
The Baltimore County Police Department is hiring. Entry-level officers start at close to $59,000 a year with a $10,000 bonus. Some restrictions apply. Plus a great retirement plan, medical, dental, and vision insurance, advancement to specialized units, tuition reimbursement, 15 sick days earned per calendar year, and even further incentives for military members and veterans. If you have a passion for service and want a career for life, visit joinbaltimorecountypd.com or call 410-887-5542. You must be a United States citizen, possess a valid driver's license, and have a high school diploma or GED equivalent. The Baltimore County Police Department is an equal opportunity employer.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The latest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, New Maryland basketball coach Kevin Willard sits down with Stan Charles and Glenn Clark to discuss the situation he inherited in College Park and how he plans to get the program turned around. Also, inside, we introduce you to men's and women's college basketball players from all of the teams in the area. And Bo Smoka profiles Ravens receiver Devin Duvernay. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Experience the best in Kamado Grilling, a complete outdoor cooking appliance. The Ginsu Kamado Grill allows anyone to sear, grill, bake, and smoke all types of food. Designed for efficiency and function, the Ginsu Kamado Grill upholds the enduring legacy of the iconic Ginsu brand. The Ginsu Kamado Grill is perfect to cook all year round, is great for parties, and ideal for tailgating with your friends. Reserve your Ginsu Kamado Grill today at ginsugrills.com and get $100 off on your pre-order when you use the promo code TAILGATE. That's ginsugrills.com. Reserve yours today.
Join Glenn at halftime of every Ravens game for the Project Game Day halftime show at facebook.com/PressBoxSports. We apologize in advance. There's not much we can do about his face.
Online sports betting will be starting in Maryland in the next few weeks. Some PressBox is your source for the best offers and sign-up incentives. Starting now, you can get a $100 pre-registration credit from our friends at FanDuel by going to PressBoxOnline.com/offers. The $100 credit is in addition to the new user promo code that you will get when they go live. Just go to PressBoxOnline.com/offers right now to get your $100 FanDuel pre-registration bonus credit. PressBoxOnline.com/offers. When you are starting to bet on your phone or your mobile app, you probably shouldn't have been riding with your friends here at GCR this weekend. It was a bloodbath. So going into last night, for the week, we picked 9 games, and there's 7 of us that make picks. So we have a spreadsheet that we keep track of all of this in, thanks to John and Andrew Stecka, who keep track of everything. So going into last night, there had been 56 total picks between the 7 of us for the week. Of those the first 56 picks that were made this week, a total of 8 correct picks between 7 people of the first 56 picks that were made. Now, to be fair, there were 2 pushes in there, and that really screwed things up for everybody this week. The 2 pushes were really a mess, but it was for the most part, bloodbath, except for Paul Valley. Paul Valley was the big winner of the weekend. Let's quickly go over picks for the week. Picks recap brought to you by the PressBox print issue, which is available right now at your neighborhood Royal Farms and at the hundreds of locations around town where you find PressBox. You can read it all. PressBoxOnline.com. Kevin Willard's on the cover. Maryland got a win over Niagara last night. We'll talk to Patrick Stevens about it in a couple of minutes. The first win of the Kevin Willard era. Find out more about Kevin Willard in that print issue of PressBox, which is available right now for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms. Maryland, Wisconsin. Glad I flew to Chicago at 6 a.m. on Saturday morning. Raced. Oh, by the way, big shout-out to Dollar Rent-A-Car, who did the bit that I'm sure every rent-a-car company does, where you get there to pick up your car, and they're like, hey, funny bit, we don't have it. Sorry, we don't have a rent-a-car for you. Oh, really? That's weird because I signed an agreement that said you would have one for me at this price. Well, we can't do that, but I tell you what we could do is you could get an SUV. It's going to cost you twice as much. And I understand that there's some fine print somewhere that says they have every right to do this to me. And I'm absolutely going to tweet about it because it's crappy. It's a crappy way of doing business, and it should be called out. I get it. They're going to continue to hold it over us because, like me in that situation, I didn't have a choice. It was either pay twice as much and get an SUV, which then also killed me on gas mileage because I had to drive it 2 hours to Madison. Thanks. That was fun. Or I missed the game. They know they got you over a barrel. You have no choice. You have to say thank you, even though they're not even going to bother to use lube. You don't have a choice. They know that, and that's why they operate their business that way. But it's crappy, and we should call it out for it. We should try to use our collective voices to have business run in a way that's more fair to the consumers. It's like when that guy was – you remember how many idiots – when that guy was hauled off that plane a few years ago and that video went viral of that man who was literally forcibly removed from a plane that he bought a ticket for because they overbooked it? And they were – every mouth breather on the face of the planet. Well, you know, if you read the fine print on your ticket, it says they have the option to do that. Get the F out of here. I am not anti-business, But I'm anti-treating consumers like crap. Sorry, I had to get that off my chest. Glad I did that, though. Glad I then paid twice as much to rent a car, drive in, have to race. I was like running because I had to find somewhere in Madison where I could park. Got into the stadium literally at kickoff.
Nice.
It would have been nice.
That's impressive.
It would have been nice, Griffin, had it not been terribly cold, miserable, rainy the entire time, and Maryland never bothered to show up.
Yeah, good seats.
Great seats. You know why? Because everybody who had those tickets tried to move up under the rows that were covered. God, what a miserable, miserable experience that was.
The rest of the weekend.
Yeah, that was lovely. Had a lovely
good,
trip.
Good,
other than that,
good.
God, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, they're just not gonna look. Maryland's not built for that. They're not built for a game in which you can't throw. I think the argument would have been you needed to try to start throwing. I have no idea what they were thinking going for it on 4th and 8 early, and just, I mean, everything about it was nonsense. It was a nonsense day. Maryland loses 23-10 to Wisconsin. So much for maybe these two games here at the end of the season. Not the end of the season because they play Rutgers at the end of the season, but these next two games being really interesting for Maryland. They're not. I mean, they're, who knows? I don't think it's – in fact, if the weather's normal, I think they've got a better chance maybe. Maryland is not built to try to win a game where it gets controlled up front. That will never be to Maryland's advantage. That'll always be to the advantage of the Midwestern teams that they're just built a little bit different. Those dudes up front are a little bit bigger. They're a little I don't know how to explain it. Maryland is skill positions, and when you're neutralizing skill positions, they're just not built for that. It was a terrible day, 23-10. But we were all on Maryland. We didn't have the weather report, in fairness, when we made that pick. Georgia did indeed take care of business against Tennessee. After I found out that the Tennessee fans were harassing Stetson Bennett, I didn't care that I was going to get the pick wrong. I wanted Georgia to skull drag Tennessee. I want to make something abundantly clear. There's a lot of things that are cute and fun to do within fandom and rivalry and all those things, but getting someone's personal cell phone number and sharing it out to the public and then harassing them, I get it. There's worse things. Like what happened to Nancy Pelosi's husband is clearly far worse than that. But how we've lost our way and we don't understand what's acceptable and what isn't any longer as a society is bull-ass, man. Getting someone's personal cell phone number and blasting it out to a fan base should be criminal. And I'll make that abundantly clear. I don't know what the laws are, but that should be a crime. You should be charged, not just a finable offense. That should involve jail time to make sure it doesn't happen. To be certain that no one does that. It's not okay. You don't get to hide behind anything. It's not okay to share someone's personal information publicly. It's nonsense. And people say, well, what about doxing on the internet? If you're an anonymous Twitter account and someone shares out your name, that's not doxing. I mean, I guess legally it might be the definition of doxing. You are who you are. Putting out someone's cell phone number, bogus, embarrassing. I'm glad Tennessee got skull dragged. I wish it would have been by 100. It's good. About the only good thing that happened for Griffin all weekend. Yes, was he got that one right. Paul Valley also got it right, which is big. Stunner on Saturday night. Alabama cooked. I mean, it's over. This does not happen. This is a very weird world in which we're living. Although, as I said, of course, with Clemson losing, imagine if Ohio State loses a game between now and then. God knows there could still be a path for two-loss Alabama to find their way back into the equation. But Alabama loses outright to LSU. Bold decision at the end of the game. And LSU wins 31-30. Both Paul Valley and John Proctor were on LSU. The first push that we had this weekend, Atlanta and the Chargers, 20-17.
When I was watching it, for some reason, I thought we got it at 3.5, so I was thrilled.
Yeah, I bet you were.
I checked it, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, that wasn't the case. That was not the case, unfortunately. Yeah, both Griffin and I were on Atlanta, but it didn't matter. It was a push. Yeah. Andrew Stetka with the double lone wolf hits, and yet still doesn't even manage to go 500 for the week. Andrew Stetka was the only one of us on both Washington and the Jets. The Jets, of course, winning, not only covering the 12.5, but winning outright against Buffalo. Still waiting on more definitive word about Josh Allen at this point. And then, he took Washington 3.5. They snuck right in there, 20-17, as they fell to Minnesota. So he gets both of those by himself. Rams and Buccaneers, another push, 16-13. Tom Brady, his heroic final drive, maybe saving the Buccaneers season. We'll find out. I kind of doubt it. I keep trying to tell you, Kansas City does not cover big numbers. Now, this one's particularly spectacular because the Titans couldn't complete a forward pass. And yet it still took 68 pass attempts for Patrick Mahomes and overtime for the Chiefs to win. Really weird. Like, I know the Chiefs are good, but, like, you should be able to beat a team that can't complete a forward pass, right? I get the Titans' defense is much better than I think we gave it credit for. So Tennessee falls, but does cover the 12.5 number there. Myself and Paul Valley were the only ones on the Titans, and that was a big one for me. We'll get to it in a second. Obviously, we were all on Baltimore last night. And of course, they covered easily, 2.5-point favorites. They win by 14. So for the week, Paul Valley's your big winner. He was 4-3, and now he's within a game of the top of the table. Big movement for Paul Valley from being the one that was closest. He was vice worm all the way up to being tied for second on the table. Decent week for Andrew Stecca, all things being equal. He went 3-4. When you're as bad as Andrew Stecca's been, that's huge because now there's only 3 games separating he and vice worm Kyle Ottenheimer at the bottom of the table. Bad week for most of us. Myself, Griffin, and Proctor all went 2-5. Yikes. That means that now I am alone on top of the table.
Feeling pretty good, huh?
At 500. 42-42. Blood bath. But it could be worse. I could be Kyle Ottenheimer, who's now fallen into the role of vice worm as he's 1-6 for the week, and now 36-48 on the year, just 3 games clear of Andrew Stecca. Closer. Been the first time in a while that vice worm was definitively closer to the worm than to the top of the table. So that's great news for Stecca as he's inching his way back at least to the pack, or Kyle Ottenheimer's moving back towards him, whatever you want to describe it as. And then there was somebody else who went 1-6. Griffin and I went 2-5, and it was the best 2-5 ever because this week our side bet also involved Ken Zales. And damn near finally got me to lose a bet, my friend. Finally, you and I finished tied. We would have both had to have consumed, but instead, not the case. KZ will have to come in here on Thursday, and he will have to consume the mayo and apple mint jelly sandwich. Do we know when the apple mint jelly will be arriving?
It should be getting to my house sometime today.
So
okay. I'll
so
make sure I share it out. And
we're going to do a healthy amount of both mayonnaise and apple mint jelly on these sandwiches.
Yeah, we can do whatever
we agreed to. We agreed to a healthy amount of both items on this sandwich. All right? You're going to make it. We can make it in person on Thursday. That's fine.
Right, got it.
But I want a healthy amount of these items on this sandwich that Ken Zales
Got
has.
it, KZ?
That's the way it's going to go. All right, that is our picks recap for the week as we will do picks again on Thursday. Let's yeah, that's a good joke, Proctor, but I'm going to leave it alone for now. Hi, Micah. How are you, pal? Let's quickly do Pats on the Ass. Pats on the Ass brought to you by the Stan the Fan Variety Hour. Stan the Fan doing 2 shows a week for you. You can find them at facebook.com/PressBoxSports. If you miss them live, you can check them out, youtube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video. Stan and Ross Grimsley caught up with former Orioles skipper Dave Tremblay yesterday. And again, if you missed it, you can find it in those locations. Stan the Fan, Ross Grimsley, and Dave Tremblay talking baseball. Pats on the ass quickly. Griffin, let's do it. You know the deal. Pick 5 Ravens. 2 must be offensive players. 2 must be defensive players. The 5th can be another offensive player, another defensive player, a special teams player, or a coach. Rank them 5-1 with number 1 being your man of the match. I will begin. My number 5 was Marlon Humphrey. I thought he was great last night, and I think that kind of gets lost. Not only did he break up and make the play in the end zone to prevent the touchdown when the Saints had their best scoring opportunity late in the first half. But he also had the big sack, obviously. He was a playmaker. I thought Marlon Humphrey was excellent. He was my number 5.
I had Ronnie Stanley as my number 5. I think he looks pretty much all the way back. He played 100% of the offensive snaps for the first time, I guess, in like over 2 or almost 2 years. And, you know, he he's shown that he's one of the leaders on this offense and on the team as a whole. He got in Lamar's face after he was screaming at Linderbaum, like we talked about with Qadry, and I mean, I think he's been a tremendous help to the offense as a whole. So Ronnie Stanley was my number 5.
I'm with you on Ronnie Stanley. I think he's been very good. My number 4 is Kenyon Drake. Rough first half, but obviously came to life significantly in the second. Finished with over 100 yards of total offense and kind of wore the Saints down. Kenyon Drake's my number 4.
Kenyon Drake also my number 4.
How about
brought
that?
Another dynamic element to this offense. Yeah.
Who would have thought? My number 3 is Lamar Jackson, who wasn't perfect, but was a huge help, obviously, in the run game, was very elusive when the Saints had opportunities a couple of times last night. Again, not a perfect night for Lamar Jackson, but in taking the temperature of how the Ravens won the game, he was significant. Lamar Jackson's my number 3.
Also my number 3.
What is going on?
Yeah, I know. You took care of the football, no like jaw-dropping plays like he normally does, maybe because he didn't have as many playmakers as he normally does, but still really, really solid. He helped win the game for us.
Now let's see if our number 2 is the same. My number 2 is Roquan Smith. My number 2 is the newest addition to the Baltimore Ravens, and in his coverage had a lot to do with why Justin Houston's going to be number 1. I don't think there's any debate this week about who number 1 is. His coverage is a big reason why Justin Houston was able to dominate up front. Roquan Smith was phenomenal. Roquan Smith was as advertised in game 1. I still think that he's got more to offer, so he was my number 2.
Yeah, so I ended up leaving Roquan off of mine. He would have been my 5.1. I put Marlon Humphrey as my number 2, but I wanted to put Ronnie Stanley on it, and I wanted to recognize him, so I decided to leave Roquan off. Marlon was my 2, and Houston 1.
All right, fair enough. Some responses that have come in. You turned off my microphone. Don't do that. Don't turn off my microphone. Turn off yours when you go to do that. That is a bad thing. From Dylan, number 5, Patrick Queen. Okay, 4, Kyle Hamilton. 3, no. Sorry. Okay, I get it. 5, Pat Ricard. He did convert the 3rd and short there. I like it when they give the ball to him in 3rd and short. 4, Kyle Hamilton. 3, Kenyon Drake. 2, Roquan Smith. 1, Justin Houston. KZ, 5, Nick Moore, because KZ just wants to be that guy. 4, Kyle Hamilton. 3, Roquan. 2, Kenyon Drake. 1, Justin Houston. Sean, 5, Mike McDaniel. Okay, 4, Marlon Humphrey. 3, Kenyon Drake. 2, Lamar. 1, Justin Houston. Shauna gets in. 5, Tyler Linderbaum. 4, Roquan Smith. 3, Lamar Jackson. 2, Kenyon Drake. 1, Justin Houston. John Proctor. 5, Morgan Moses. As he despite the accidental forced fumble, Moses was all over the field for blocking.
He was. I think he was like the highest rated PFF.
It was just a really awkward look. And then later in the game when Lamar literally shoves him over to try to go pick up the first down, that was pretty funny. 4, Roquan Smith. 3, Kenyon Drake. 2, Calais Campbell. 1, Justin Houston. Continue to get me your responses. We'll continue to share them throughout the day at Glenn Clark Radio for pats on the ass after the Ravens win last night. Today's show is also brought to you by Glory Days Grill. They've got $6.99 apps every night after 9 p.m., including their delicious smoky thigh wings. Get your order in, glorydaysgrill.com. The Oktoberfest menu still available right now, as always, at your neighborhood Glory Days Grill. College basketball season got underway last night. Of course, our next guest was in here with us last Monday for the college basketball preview show, and he will be joining us every Tuesday during college basketball season. He is our friend, Patrick Stevens, at Discourse, D1S Course on Twitter from the Washington Post, and he is here with us on GCR. Patrick, good morning, my friend. How are you?
I am well, Glenn. Better than everybody that had to dodge traffic on the Beltway with a tipped-over cement truck yesterday.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think that played a little bit of a role in the crowd that Maryland did or did not get.
Yeah.
But it was between that, you got daylight savings time kicking in, so you've got the road, the glare, the sun glare as the sun's setting and whatnot. It was not good.
Yeah.
Not good out there on the road yesterday.
Well, but, I mean, how could you not be determined to make sure you're there for the Maryland-Niagara basketball game? It's just you can't.
Well, I mean, I know I was there an hour and 45 minutes before tip-off.
As I would expect from you, my friend. All right, so admittedly, I was traveling and then I had to do the football game last night. I did not get to watch much. Donta Scott obviously jumped off the page of me in the box score, hitting 3 threes to boot. Did we learn anything from the first taste of this team this season about what this group might look like as they move into more significant basketball games?
Yeah, I kind of walked away from it kind of with a mixed bag here. Like I think we talked last week about this has a chance to be a pretty good starting five, and everything after that's a bit of a question mark. And my opinion of that really didn't change. I mean, they went 9 deep up until the final 2 minutes of the game after things were in hand. And they've got some guys like, I think Ian Martinez has improved over last year, and Patrick Emilian's a solid player. I don't know if he's going to be a great Big Ten player, but a solid reserve forward. But I don't think it's a terribly deep team. I thought defensively they were caught, on some weak side stuff a lot throughout the night, and some of that was a function of Niagara ran some really good things, and Niagara was not interested in bombing away. I almost feel like this is a Maryland team that would be very happy to find teams that will just bomb away and take a ton of threes. Now, remind me I said this at some point when somebody shoots 12 of 21 against them from outside. But I thought offensively it took a little while, and I shouldn't say a little while because they actually shot well early, and then they just kind of got into a funk, and some of that was a matter of going into the reserves and maybe not having guys that were as familiar with playing with each other as you would like, and that will get fixed in time. Yeah, I kind of walk away from it as, it's good to win by 22, but there's still a long, long ways to go for this group. And, I thought that there's a stretch there early in the second half where Jameer Young had a couple second chance buckets and had in between those two, played a role on a really good defensive possession. I thought maybe their best defensive possession of the night. They had attempted a trap near midcourt, and then got a shot clock violation. So one thing I would also tell you is people were talking about how they're going to play fast. They're going to play fast. They had 57 possessions last night. And so, no, they're not playing fast. And I don't think this is a team that is going to be capable of doing that in large part because of the depth issues. Like you're only going to be able to do that sort of selectively. So I kind of like the fact that they did a little bit of trapping and pressing selectively. It was not just it was not the second coming in 1994 Arkansas. Let's put it that way.
I remember Kevin Willard mentioned something a couple times that we chatted with Kevin Willard so far. He mentioned trying to be someone who coaches to what the players are. Do you get the sense that that's more the situation where he's adapting to what he has?
Well, I think that's certainly some of it. I mean, I think he knows. I think he already has a pretty good idea what the path to success is going to look like for them. I'll just point out that his teams at Seton Hall, let's just rattle off what they were ranked in tempo based on KenPom over the course of his tenure there. 60th with a bad team, 186th, 221st, 206, 105 with a 500 team, 92nd with a 25-win team, 214th, 103rd with a 22-win team, 100th with a 20-win team, 93rd with a 21-win team, 264th, 167th last year. So what that tells me is that especially later on in that tenure, the better teams that he had tended to push the pace. You look at 14 and 13 in 2021, and they're 264th. So I think that backs up your idea that he's gonna play it to what the roster looks like, which in a lot of ways I think is a good sign because it's somebody that doesn't sound like they're particularly wedded to doing things one way no matter what.
You and I didn't talk a lot about Maryland's schedule last week, and I guess if there's good news, they have a little bit of a kind of an on ramp here in this first couple of weeks to I'm not sure how good they're going to end up being, but to keep working on some of these things. Tell me what jumps out at you ahead of Big Ten play. What is it that you think is most significant? Maybe a game that perhaps people look at it on paper and say, well, there's an easy one for Maryland. Maybe isn't quite as easy as everyone thinks that it is.
Well, I think the team that we talked about a little bit last weck, St. Louis, that's going to be a tough one, I think, in that first game up in New England, and I think it's Providence or Miami the next time out. I don't know if Louisville is going to be too daunting a task, relatively speaking. I mean, that's a Louisville team that just lost an exhibition game to Division II Lenoir-Rhine and only scored 47 points in that game. So I think that Louisville is obviously another team with new coach, kind of rebuilding the thing. And obviously the highlights of the non-conference schedule are those back-to-back games against Tennessee and UCLA in the middle of December. And certainly those are the sorts of games that if they get a split, that's great.
Right.
I mean, you can just say right now, get a split, that's awesome. Be competitive in both games. That's pretty good too. But if we're sitting here and trying to size up like one of those games prior to Big Ten play that might be a little tricky, I would actually toss out Coppin, as the the Juan Dixon return game. It's the day after Thanksgiving. It's kind of a sleepy spot on the schedule. And Juan's going to be fired up to go in there. And you probably have a sense that his team will be pretty fired up to go in and have that opportunity. The only question I think with Coppin at that stage is have they already gone on the road enough at that point to, they lost last night to Charlotte. They're at Georgetown tonight. They'll be at Marshall and Towson and Tennessee Tech between now and then. Will they just be a little run down at that point? But I also think that they won't be as run down as they might have been if they were playing the schedule that they had last year.
Interesting. All right, Patrick Stevens is with us here on GCR. Patrick, the other storylines from last night, what jumped out at you most on night one of college basketball season on the local front?
On the local front, I would say Towson having a little bit of trouble there.
Okay.
Kind of dispatching Albany. That game, that was tied with 3:30 to play. They were actually down with 4 minutes to play. Finished strong. They didn't give up a field goal in the last 4:49. But I do think that's one of those. Was it a little bit of nerves? Was it a little bit of, we've only got a 7-man rotation for this game? Kind of what went into it. You also have, there's a little bit of foul trouble, but I do wonder, as much as Pat Scarry talked about, well, I'm gonna play these guys a ton. I don't know how sustainable it's going to be to see Timberlake with 37, Cam Holden 30, Charles Thompson 32, Jason Gibson 30 minutes all the way through. So I think for them, if they can develop a little bit more, they did not use an extra big guy in that game, which was I think the big question with them. Was it going to be Chase Parr? Was it going to be somebody else? That would be one thing that jumps out at me. Another game that stood out, I thought, even though it was probably the final score was a little deceptively close for Loyola. It trailed by 14 with 2.5 minutes to play before closing within 6. Actually got within 4 briefly in the final minute. They lost 72-66. But I thought that was a pretty good showing for them out at DePaul. And, Kenny Jones with 20 points in that game and Golden DK with 9 points and 11 rebounds. That was probably, a good spunky showing for a team that, as we talked to Tavares Hardy last week, it was definitely going to be a work in progress for Loyola as they moved on from having lost Cam Spencer at the end of last season. And by the way, in a related note, Cam Spencer goes out for Rutgers last night, scores 17 points on 7 of 13 shooting as they beat Columbia by 40.
Look, man, the kid can play. There's no question about it. There's, we'll see as they move into Big Ten play. But once upon a time, his brother acquitted himself pretty well in the Big Ten, so it's not going to surprise me.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, not going to surprise me at all if he equates himself pretty well in the Big Ten as well. All right, let's just look at the national landscape. I know it was kind of a soft open. There weren't a ton of big games. Anything that particularly jumped out at you last night on the national landscape? And it feels like it's that was a bit of a soft opening, that this weekend provides maybe more of a grand opening for college basketball with some more marquee games.
Yeah, a little bit more. I mean, you kind of look at some of the maybe mild surprises. There were a couple upsets. I think Cal got beat by UC Davis out in the Pac-12. Florida Gulf Coast went out and beat Andy Enfield and Southern Cal out in L.A.
How about that?
So those were a couple. The Sam Houston buzzer beater to beat Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I think that was the only team in the Big 12 that lost. So there were certainly a few of those that stood out. Florida State basically not only having 8 guys that played in a loss to Stetson. So you're kind of sitting there kind of picking at, who had the surprising losses on this particular night? Because I don't think that there was a really galvanizing upset. Middle of the American Athletic Conference had some questionable losses. Temple lost in overtime to Wagner. Central Florida lost in double overtime to UNC Asheville. And South Florida got knocked off by Southeast Missouri State by 3 in regulation.
Most interesting games to you? I mean, I guess Gonzaga, Michigan State on the ship probably stands out the most. I know maybe it's not a dominant Michigan State team, but it's still Gonzaga and Michigan State. Anything else that stands out to you and says over the course of the next week, this is a really good one to start college basketball season?
Yeah, I don't know if there's any one in particular that stands out like that. Like you said, Gonzaga. Anytime you're involving a boat, right?
Right.
Like that stands. I mean, we're not too far away. It's next Tuesday. I guess we'll talk before then. But you've got the Champions Classic with Kentucky and Michigan State and Kansas and Duke, which has kind of felt like the artificial start of the season tip-off type of thing here. You got the game in the baseball stadium, even though it's not a great game. I believe it's Wisconsin. Wisconsin's taking on Kansas State, I think it is.
Oh, right.
In the Brewer Stadium.
Yeah, they were. I got inundated with advertisements for that while I was out in Madison this week. It was popping up everywhere. Great.
It was not Kansas State. It was Wisconsin and somebody. I'm forgetting who it was.
Hang on a second.
Was it Stanford?
Yes, thank you. It's exactly who it was. And it's Kansas State because they're doing a doubleheader. They're doing a women's game as well. And it's the Kansas State women are playing. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The Brew City Battle is what they're calling it. And I kept getting advertisements for it.
So that's kind of interesting just as a venue type of thing. Great week, by the way, for you to choose to go out to Madison. Great weather.
Yes, really, really great decision-making on my part. All right, anyway, let's move on. What are you going to do? If for those of you that are new, Patrick Stevens, he knows the history of teams that random baseball players have played for more than they know their own history. That you could ask certain players, hey, name all the teams that you played for, and they might forget a couple, but Patrick Stevens would not. Now, we've been doing this. When did we start playing this game, Patrick? How many years ago was this?
It's been at least 3 years. It's
and Patrick and I, by the way, sometimes when we've hung out, have played the home version of Can Patrick Stevens name all of the teams this particular player has played for. So we've gotten to a very difficult place where we've had some rules in play that the player had to make at least one All-Star game. They couldn't be utterly and completely random, although maybe Patrick could name all the teams that, say, Tim Hewlett or Jeff Rebele played for over the years. Had to make at least one All-Star game, and they had to play for at least 5 seasons past 1980 in order for them to qualify. Those are some of the rules. I had implemented the rule that they had to play for at least 5 teams. We have really gotten down to the bare minimum of players that qualify that have played for at least 5 teams. We'll still throw a couple in, but I'm acknowledging they are really ball busters at this point. They are.
Well, I also think that we probably need to expand the dates back
at
least 5, if not 10 years.
Oh, you're feeling confident about it? You feel good about going back into the 70s?
I'm willing to do that just to
get a few more names on the list. Okay, all right. So we'll do that moving forward. I'll add some more 5-team. But what we've been doing most recently is one really difficult 5-team guy, and then a more reasonable consideration for a 4-team guy, and let's see how it goes. But this might be the last one we do because again, Patrick, if you saw the list of the 5-team guys that are left, you would shake your head at some of these names. The one I came up with, again, just a one-time All-Star, and I'm acknowledging I couldn't have named more than 2, but we'll see how you do with Rondell White is our 5-team guy, and he's actually more than 5 teams. He's 7 teams for Rondell White.
Rondell White, good Lord.
Yes, I'm acknowledging almost impossible.
That feels like somebody that played everywhere and yet nowhere other than Montreal.
By the way, I could name Montreal, and then I could name the one place he went to after Montreal. I could not name the place where he was an All-Star, actually.
All right. So, we're going to really disappoint people trying to figure out.
I know, this is not a great start. Yeah, I understand that. But we got to...
This is not a... All right. So, am I remembering him as a Red Sox?
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. All right, maybe we bail already.
Am I remembering him as a Red?
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Oh, boy.
Oh, no.
You want to talk about somebody that must have been pretty anonymous.
No.
St. Louis?
Okay. All right, so the 4-team guy for this week.
Oh, boy, this isn't good.
Oh, no.
This isn't good.
Oh,
way to leave that one
I
in
know.
there,
I'm sorry. Dude, there's only
Colorado?
so many guys
Was
left.
he in Colorado?
No, it wasn't. Oh, I really think we should move on.
Yeah.
How about we do a pair of 4-team guys? How about we do that instead? And I can deceptively edit this later. How about we go with Matt? Do you want to know? Do you have any interest in knowing?
Nah, not really.
Great. Matt Holliday.
I've gotten this far without knowing it.
Matt Holliday had 4 teams. Who were they?
Matt Holliday's 4 teams. Well, he was obviously in Colorado.
Most certainly.
And he was in St. Louis.
Yes.
And he was in Oakland.
Yes, he was.
And so that leaves one right at the tail end.
So
right?
he actually went back to Colorado for his final season. He spent 2017. He spent the full season somewhere else.
2017, Matt Holliday, someplace other than
Oakland. I remember it well, but I only remember it. Well, all right, I don't want to say anything.
2017 for Matt Holliday. Well, you know, we always know how this guess goes, right?
Yeah, I know where you're
all
headed.
Failed. Yeah. And that's probably not where he was. So how about was he a Red Sox?
No, you're so close. It was the Yankees. It was the Yankees. Yep, spent 2017. Very productive season with the Yankees. In fact, now of course his son in the Orioles system. Do you want one more 4-teamer just to wash the taste out of the mouth?
Sure. What the heck?
How about a 2-time All-Star? I admit this one to me was trickier because I had utterly forgotten about the last step for him. But the other one would be a man whose name came up in the film Knocked Up. Now, was that one? Yes, it was. Hideki Matsui is the other one. 4 teams for Hideki Matsui.
Oh, dear. I can't even. I mean, he was obviously a Yankee.
Yes.
I did not even. He played for 3 other teams.
He did. Oh, wow. Oh, boy. This isn't good. This is not.
Yeah, this is not good.
Oh, boy. After all of that build that I gave to this segment.
Yes, exactly. That's what you get.
I know.
That's
man.
Hideki Matsui.
And the other two were full seasons. Like, I remember the second one really well. I sort of remember the third one. I don't remember. He finished his career with a short stint.
Let's throw Tampa out.
By the way, Tampa is where he finished his career, and I had utterly forgotten about that. So you got that one. No San Diego, though.
Not San Diego, and Toronto, maybe?
The Angels I remembered well. That was where he went after New York. I remember that quite well. The Athletics were the other stop for Hideki Matsui. All right.
I knew it was someplace. I figured it was at least one place that he DH'd.
I promise you this was rust is all it was. This was just rust. We'll get back at it next week with a vengeance.
Or maybe we should be closer to
retiring. No, we'll see how the next couple of weeks go, and then we'll decide that. Where are you going to be this week?
Headed to Georgetown for Coppin and Georgetown tonight. We'll be back at Maryland on Thursday. They have Western Carolina and the Vets Classic, which we talked about a bit last week. Navy has Princeton, St. Joe's, and Houston on Friday. Saturday, back to Georgetown. They play Wisconsin, Green Bay, and American and Mason on Sunday. So that gets us up through Sunday. And I'm trying to remember. Monday, I think it's UMBC. They get Princeton in town. So go get a look at the Retrievers for the first time. They opened with a loss last night at Tulane.
It's a pretty good Tulane team, though, right?
It is.
Yeah, that's what I thought. At Discourse, D1S Course on Twitter is how you follow him. Patrick Stevens, appreciate you, my friend. We will talk to you next Tuesday, all right?
Awesome. Take care, Glenn.
Thanks, buddy. Patrick Stevens. I swear to God, that game normally if that was the first time hearing the game, you'd think that it's a setup. No, it normally goes way better than that.
I wanted to do Jerry Harrison Jr.
Yeah, I get it.
Had 10 teams, and we had one yesterday. But he actually wasn't an all-star.
Yeah, he was not. He does not qualify. Exactly right. All right, when we come back in, we'll get
a good game.
It's a fun game, and again, normally goes a lot better than it went this week. We'll come back in with a tidbit tubular to wrap it up, and then Simply the Bets coming up next. Glenn Clark Radio. Experience the best in Kamado Grilling, a complete outdoor cooking appliance. The Ginsu Kamado Grill allows anyone to sear, grill, bake, and smoke all types of food. Designed for efficiency and function, the Ginsu Kamado Grill upholds the enduring legacy of the iconic Ginsu brand. The Ginsu Kamado Grill is perfect to cook all year round, is great for parties, and ideal for tailgating with your friends. Reserve your Ginsu Kamado Grill today at ginsugrills.com and get $100 off on your pre-order when you use the promo code TAILGATE. That's ginsugrills.com. Reserve yours today.
The latest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, New Maryland basketball coach Kevin Willard sits down with Stan Charles and Glenn Clark to discuss the situation he inherited in College Park and how he plans to get the program turned around. Also, inside, we introduce you to men's and women's college basketball players from all of the teams in the area. And Bo Smoko profiles Ravens receiver Devin Duvernay. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always find the entire edition as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Another Orioles season is in the books, and the Bat-Around was there every step of the way as the Birds posted their first winning season in 6 years. And after promoting 2 #1 overall prospects in Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson, Mike Elias has said it's liftoff from here. Hi, I'm Paul Valley, and along with my co-host Zach Goodman, we'll be here every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon all off season, discussing every signing, trade, and waiver claim as we navigate the cold winter months that lead to spring training. You can watch us at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline and Facebook.com/PressBoxSports, or listen live at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. And if you miss a show, you can find us anywhere you get your podcasts. So tune into the Bat-Around with Paul Valley and Zach Goodman every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon right here at PressBox Sports.
Stan the Fan here, welcoming back one of my favorite sponsors, the Costas Inn. And everybody around Baltimore knows the Costas Inn is a great place to go and grab crabs, steaks, salads, soups, whatever's on your mind to eat in person. But did you know that the Costas Inn has upped their game? They are now one of the premier takeout places in Baltimore. Give them a call now to order your food, 410-477-1975. That's the Costas Inn over 4100 North Point Boulevard.
The Baltimore County Police Department is hiring. Entry-level officers start at close to $59,000 a year with a $10,000 bonus. Some restrictions apply. Plus a great retirement plan, medical, dental, and vision insurance, advancement to specialized units, tuition reimbursement, 15 sick days earned per calendar year, and even further incentives for military members and veterans. If you have a passion for service and want a career for life, visit joinbaltimorecountypd.com or call 410-887-5542. You must be a United States citizen, possess a valid driver's license, and have a high school diploma or GED equivalent. The Baltimore County Police Department is an equal opportunity employer.
If you can't listen or watch live, you can subscribe to the show via Spotify, Amazon, or Apple Podcasts. Leave a 5-star review while you're there. Or, if lying isn't your thing, we'll take a 3.5-star review too.
All right, let's try to do this quickly. Reminder, Tyus Bowser Show returns next Tuesday night, November 15th. 1 week from tonight, we will be at Mother's North Grill in Timonium with Tyus and his special guests. Come join us. It's all a partnership of PressBox and Grade 8's Memorabilia. It's brought to you by the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill as well as Maryland Vascular Specialists. Find out more, PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser. Great to see him back out on the field last night. Tidbit, how pressing is it?
It's a quick one. We can do it pretty quickly.
I
just kind of want to highlight.
It's got to be
Justin
quick.
Houston.
Hang on. Tidbit is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Of course, online sports betting is coming to the state of Maryland. It's starting the next couple of weeks, and PressBox will be your source for the best offers and sign-up incentives. Starting now, you get $100 pre-registration credit from our friends at FanDuel by going to PressBoxOnline.com/offers. And the $100 credit is in addition to the new user promo that you'll get when they go live. PressBoxOnline.com/offers right now to get your $100 FanDuel pre-registration bonus credit. PressBoxOnline.com/offers.
2.5 sacks last night for Justin Houston. He is now tied for second in the league lead in sacks, 8.5 on the season. Who is in first, and then who is he tied with? I know
it's Matt Judon in first. I know that for sure.
Yes, Matt Judon, 11.5.
And Zadarius is one of the guys that he's tied with.
Zadarius is one of the guys he's tied with.
And I'm sure that was the point of all this.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Could you try to round out the top 6 real quick?
Parsons.
Parsons has 8. He is fifth. He is fifth.
God. I just saw this is the funny part. Nick Bosa.
Nick Bosa tied for second, 8.5.
Von Miller?
Not Von Miller has 7. Not top 6 though.
All right, just tell me who was it.
Miles Garrett 7.
Damn it! I knew that.
Yes.
All right,
sack leaders this season.
Very good, thank you. Tubular is brought to you by the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill. Ravens will be back at home, not this Sunday, but the following Sunday to take on Carolina. If you have not sampled the cooking from the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill, then you can stop by the Game Day Firehouse, 1202 Ridgely Street, just west of the stadium, the Firefighters Union Hall. Try some food from the Ginsu Kamado Grill. Register to win your own Ginsu Kamado Grill and $500 worth of grilling meats. Ginsu Kamado Grill. You can also use the code TAILGATE when you order yours and save $100. GinsuGrills.com. Not a lot going on tonight as both the NBA is taking the night off for Election Day. College basketball, a sparse schedule. Patrick Stevens mentioned there is one local team in action, Coppin State at Georgetown at 8:30 on Fox Sports 1. It's just not much. One Big Ten game, Milwaukee and Purdue on Big Ten Network at 6:30. Some college football tonight, MACtion on CBS Sports Network, Eastern Michigan and Akron at 7, Miami, Ohio at 7:30 on ESPN2. ESPN will unveil the new college football playoff top 25, which will include a new number 1 tonight at 7, then Ball State Toledo at 8 o'clock. TNT Oilers Lightning 7:30, Predators Kraken at 10, ESPN Plus and Hulu for Wild Kings at 10:30, the USA Network for WWE NXT at 8. Anything non-sports wise?
No, it's all election coverage. On HBO at 10, there's a Say Hey Willie Mays documentary on HBO at 10. Yeah.
You know who made it? That's interesting.
That's
all right. We don't have time. We don't have the time.
Yeah, it looks good.
All right, very good. All right, thanks today to Patrick Stevens. Thanks to Qadry Ismail. Thanks to Joe Serpico. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Anything tomorrow?
DJ Brown from Notre Dame.
Maryland native. He's a starter for Notre Dame. They're, of course, playing against Navy in Baltimore on Saturday, so it's a big game coming up this weekend. I'm sure Drew will join us, Stuff and Things, coming up on tomorrow's edition of the program. Micah's Micah.Ernest on Instagram, so follow him there. Follow us, or follow Griffin at Griffin_Bass. We're at Glenn Clark Radio on all socials. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including the Baltimore area Chick-fil-A restaurants, FanDuel, and the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, the all-new Ginsu Kamado Grill, Glory Days Grill, Guilford Hall Brewery, the Great Eights memorabilia, as well as the Baltimore County Police Department and Royal Farms and the Costas Inn. Thanks to I did all the thank yous, didn't I? I just did that part. Thanks to Griffin. Oh, man, it's my first day back. Give me a break. All right, give me a break.
He's on Wisconsin time.
Yeah, right. It's still 10:51. We got to get to Simply the Bets. We got to do that. Let's do Simply the Bets now. Have a great Tuesday night. Jesus. Go Coppin. Duke sucks. Ohio State sucks too. If you're with us on audio, do nothing. If you're with us on video, give us a minute. Go right back to where you started. And Simply